Welcome to the next episode of Take a Break.
Take a break. Keep the whole world guessing. Take a break from the human race. Take a break when it gets depressing. Take a break.
Pat Armistead is a voice for all that is joyful. In this series, she brings a fresh approach to emerging consciousness. Through conversational, social and emotional intelligence, she and her guests explore new models of leadership that embrace humour, empathy and compassion.
Welcome to another episode of Take a Break. My guest today is Olga Schmidt, and she's a volunteer with the ALLATRA International Public Movement, building a creative society. Curious? So am I. Olga, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just delighted. In fact, I've been delighted to meet all of the associates of yours that I've met over the last few months. You're a volunteer with the ALLATRA International Public Movement, which is building a creative society. And you're also an MRI and radiology technician, and we're going to talk about both of those things. And I'm particularly keen, as the conversation unfolds, to see how this year has been for you and how you've been able to optimise your experiences. So at the outset, perhaps if you just tell us a little bit about your background. Where do you live? What town are you?
Absolutely. I am from Metro Detroit in Michigan,
Yes.
United States. And thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk to you again.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
yeah.
I've just loved the, ever since I discovered ALLATRA, it's just brought a big smile to my face. I've, for 20 years in particular, I've been encouraging full creative self-expression, and that's not about being an artist, but creative in all senses. And when I came across ALLATRA, or maybe they found me first, I can't remember now, it was like, oh, for goodness sake, look at this, it's wonderful. So how did ALLATRA begin? What were its founding kind of moments?
Yes, absolutely. So ALLATRA started in 2000. ALLATRA International Public Movement started in 2013, and just a group of people gathered together. And actually, it all began after reading the ALLATRA book. So,
Right.
Of course, the ALLATRA movement started after that. And a group of people understood that they can make a better world. They can create a creative society, which is one of the main projects right now. And they established this volunteer organization, which is now international. There's participants from all over the globe to show that people can do good things outside of politics and religion, outside of social status, and doesn't matter what age the participants are. We can all unite on the moral and spiritual values inside of us, and actually we can create something good all together. So
yeah. I can see the smile on your face. All of you actually really embody that. There's just an inner wellspring of energy that's evident in everyone that I've talked to so far. And
because we love what we do.
Yeah.
When you do it from the heart, and when you do something good for someone else without wanting something back, then you actually do it with everything you have. You use your best qualities, and that's what ALLATRA International Public Movement is. It's all the people united. They use their best qualities for the benefit of society and the humanity as a whole. And how can you not smile when you talk about this, when you're part of something like that? So
yes. So throughout your working life, you've been a health professional working in radiology as a radiology technician, doing MRIs and other things. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got into that.
Yes, absolutely. So actually my father worked as a pharmacist at the hospital. And when I graduated high school, I wasn't sure what it is that I wanted to do. I did volunteer at the hospital at that time as well. And he said, hey, you know what? There's a great school right here, right through the hospital. It's a radiology program. Why don't you go into it? And I said, hey, why not? I like patient care. I like that interaction. I think, you know, I like talking to people and meeting new people. It's a great idea. So, you know, at 17, I don't know if, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I really didn't know what path I wanted to take, but I thought that that was a pretty good job, and it turned out to be. And so that's how I went to school, and I got my degree, and later on finished the university, and here I am today. So it was kind of spur of the moment, but definitely was a good choice, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, and along that pathway, you've been very much involved in fostering health, but you've also been doing some health journalism. Tell us a little bit about that.
Health journalism.
Yeah, or journalism. I saw that you'd done some.
Oh, yes. So the only journalism that I have done was for the ALLATRA International Public Movement. Prior to going online right now with the pandemic we have going on, we took all our interviews online. Prior to that, we did all the interviews in person, and we would actually take interviews. We would go out in the streets, we would set up meetings, and we had a really large project called the Universal Grain Project, and for that we took a bunch of interviews with people from all over the world. And of course, you know, when you're a volunteer, you wear many hats, and that was just one of the ones that I got acquainted with. Yeah,
nice. And look, it's really demonstrated in how you're running these online interviews now. Everyone that I've referred on and talked to, you know, and suggested they might like to be a guest, I love that you have often the person who made the introduction, the interviewer, and then the guest. So you've got this like triple triangle, and people keep looping back. So there's that opportunity to create you know, a more long-lasting association. It's not just an interview and we're done. There's that ongoing connection that can occur, and I love that. I really do like that.
And it's amazing because so many people can meet. I mean, we already introduced so many people to each other, and they can actually meet and communicate. And a lot of people started doing some kind of creative and good projects together. And we met so many people. So that is a very nice way to connect each other, to unite, right? Which is our main goal, is to unite everyone and to actually start the communication. Because today I believe we have lack of that. We have walls that we build, you know, invisible walls, and we're not really even going to talk to our neighbor. But if we start communicating, start talking, having these open conversations, then we can do so much.
The here in Australia, there were 8 of us who were involved in a project with you just recently, a convention where we had a panel of 8, and each person spoke into just one of your pillars and gave a descriptor of how they personally might suggest, well, personally might live it into themselves, and how that might support other people to start thinking in ways a bit different to how they've thought in the past. And, you know, if I speak at a conference, it's not always possible to talk to every speaker before the event, but with this event I did. And so there we are, all the connections formed before we even came on the screen. So there's that little bit of knowing. And then since then, I've talked to almost everyone once more. So, you know, something forged there. And yes, like that possibility of what's to come. So how many, have you done many of those around other countries?
Yes. So we started doing these events, these round tables, since the pandemic started. And we realized that first we did one interview at a time. We used to do these round tables together where we would actually unite in one room and you know, do it like that. So you know, then we realized, hey, we have this beautiful technology, and why not use it? And we can actually unite people globally, or unite people in Australia, as we did for that roundtable. And we started doing these roundtables, these one-on-one interviews, to talk about the creative society and to actually unite people and to hear their opinion. And we do a lot of these now on different topics. We did a lot of no to violence in the creative society. We did them on ecology. We did a bunch of roundtables, and they are done all over the world. So people are conducting them right now, volunteers in different languages as well. So, and as you mentioned, it was wonderful to have that opportunity to meet everyone and for you all to connect before the conference.
Mm.
Not even once. We had a few phone calls before, so that was wonderful. You guys were a very lively group.
Yeah, it's good. And the I think the it's when like minds come together. Like I've presented at over 1,000 conferences in the past, and very few other speakers would bother to connect, number one, and very few other speakers would follow up with the other speakers afterwards. You know, that just wouldn't happen. But I think there's just been a shift in thinking, and people seeing when not being so perhaps it's not being so guarded about we're all like-minded, and we're all different, so there's enough. I think for speakers in the past, there's been a bit of jealously guarding of this is my IP, this is my information, and people less willing to share. But there's been a huge shift in how we be with each other, and that whole, you know, there's enough. And, you know, especially now, there'll be so many, over the next couple of years, I believe we're going to see so many people who are hurting, who have lost work, various other circumstances. So they're going to be beginning again. We're probably going to have some trying times financially, and adapting and changing to being different to how we were before. And so those people are going to need a lot of support and guidance, and each of us with their own skill set are necessary. And I think that's something for me that it's just been, for what you guys are doing, it's just been like a flower, or, you know, a rose bush unfolding. You know, you've got the little bud formed, and then more and more, and then this blaze of colour. Do you know how many people you've interviewed this year?
Gosh, you know, we looked just here in Michigan, the group that, you know, when we started, we did about 200 without roundtables that we do. And I think we do about 100 or so interviews a week if we take all the countries. So there's going to be a lot of interviews. A lot of people got to know about the Project Creative Society. A lot of people, of course, you know, even the 8 foundations that you mentioned, they were created because for the past 9 years, volunteers of ALLATRA International Public Movement have been doing these interviews to see how do people want to live and how do they envision the future. And based on those answers, the 8 foundations were formed. So to say that there's a person out there that says, no, you know, I don't want human life to be of highest value, or freedom, or safety, it's, you know, everybody wants those things. And that's what we're all striving for. We just need a means to get there. And as you mentioned that, you know, we have today a lot of problems that you said, and climatic events, we have a lot of hunger, you know, people fear losing their job, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of division. But we can see today, and this was very proven, as you said right now, by the event we had, Australian citizens on the Creative Society that you were part of, that people are tired of having those barriers and walls, that everyone is ready for this change, to make this historic leap into this better future, and they're ready to unite, and they're ready to talk and to communicate and to actually find out ways on how we can build something better. And that it was a perfect example, as you mentioned, that we can do it. We can do it all together. And this project is so important because in order for us not to go into this, not to continue this consumerist format that we live in today, if we all know about this project and implement it, then we can change the future and the history, and we can live better, and we can forget about wars, conflict, hunger, fear, anxiety. You know, we can forget about all of those things, and we can live peacefully and happily. So that's why it's so vital today.
Everyone has been challenged by this year in one way or another. But I'd like to ask you, how have you optimized your experience of 2020?
Of course. Well, I have to say, you're right. It's been a challenging year, definitely. But I have to say that when you have something good to look forward to, when you know that there's something good, that change can happen, when you're doing something good for someone else, as volunteering your time especially. And this year, the best thing was that as a volunteer of ALLATRA, we have connected with so many people. We have connected so many people. We have implemented this Creative Society project worldwide. More and more people know about it. And to me, it's just amazing to have this end goal, to know that there's going to be this end goal of all people living this good life. And when you have a goal and you know what you need, you want to build this future for yourself, for your kids, you look into your kids' eyes and they motivate you every time, and you just want to spread this message more and more. And you know that sooner than later, we can all live this perfect life. And that is how, when life gives you lemons, you need to make lemonade, and we need to start looking at the positives. We need to not focus on the negatives. We need to just forget about all the negative. It happens, but we need to learn from our mistakes and move on. And we need to just see what is ahead. What can we do? How can we be an active person in our community right now, where we are? Doesn't matter, and like you said, everybody is important. So it doesn't matter what profession you are, what age you are, what social status you are, what race you are. Every person is important, every single person. And we just need to optimize that and grow on that and unite under this one goal of building a better future. And that's what kept me going this whole year, I can tell you that much.
She was long before your time, but at the end of, I think it was World War II, there was a singer called Vera Lynn. And when it was announced that the war was over, she entertained the troops singing this song called "When the Lights Go On Again" all over the world. And I kind of, as you've been talking, have that image. If there was a map of the world there, there are all these little diodes, and they're just lighting up as you're stepping out and forging those connections. And that's kind of how I see synchronicity. When I'm a light and you're a light, right, and we kind of meet each other on the grid, then because the lights are on, we notice each other, and that's when we connect. And there are so many now who've been able to transcend, if you like, hold themselves to a higher place, not be too caught up in things. It's human to be so, of course, but they've, it's a constant level of vigilance, I think, to hold yourself in a higher place and not be caught by the dross of what's around you. I know earlier in the year for myself, I felt quite a lot of injustice around people in Victoria, in my country especially, were being treated. And it was like really strong. And I thought, oh, Pat, you've got to look at that. So I went and looked at my timeline, And I thought, yes, I have experienced a lot of injustice. So here it is now, showing up for me. I can't necessarily go into that environment and do anything. But as you suggested, I can do what I'm doing and continue to raise myself here. And when you do that, everything raises around you. So, you know, when I'm trying to think of a saying, it's like when you heal yourself, you heal what's in your environment. So to be a little more self-centered helps you feel the well, you know, and be more self-sustaining, which puts you in a position then where you can be much more resourceful over a longer period of time. And I think the whole thing too of be here now, you know, being present to one another. Certainly in all the interviews I've been involved with ALLATRA, there's that great presence in, even though we're online, that great presence is there, which just adds to the magic of the conversation.
Yes, and you know, you said it correctly. It's if we change ourselves. Change starts with ourselves. And I like your example on how if I'm a light and you're a light, you know, and then if we connect together, like-minded people attract. Imagine how many more lights we can light up. Imagine how many more people will join. So it's always important to be, you know, first of all, to start with yourself. Absolutely. And then how many people will join, you know, you never know. You never know what the future holds. So it's amazing.
Yeah. And the storytelling is also important. And there was a lot of that at our round table. Each person shared a story in some context. And that's what we walk away with and remember. People won't remember all that we said, but they will remember elements of different stories that connect for them personally. As we come to a close now, I'd really like to be inviting listeners to connect with you with a view to seeing what ALLATRA is about, possibly being a guest if that interests them in that fashion, and becoming more actively involved. So how can people do that?
Yes, absolutely. There's actually one way is you can visit ALLATRAunites.com, which is ALLATRA unites.com, and you can send us an email. You will find an email address on the bottom of the page. And the second way is there's going to be a huge global conference that will take place, international conference, on December 20th. 2020. You can also see it on ALLATRAunites.com and on allatra.tv/English. And it's a conference where we will talk about the Creative Society Project. This way you can understand what unification is, how can we unite, what is the consumer format, what can we do, and how can we take that step to change history. So please email us, join the conference. We would love to have everyone on the live conversation on ALLATRA TV. We, as you can tell, we're very happy to connect with new people, and it's always nice to unite all together and break those barriers and actually talk about what truly matters.
Yes, and I think that conference sounds amazing actually, because many people that I've been talking to say, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do, you know, because we're heading into a place where we don't know, you know, so that being, people need to be inspired, you know, they hear some construct from some people and it's like, oh yeah, I could do something like that. So, you know, and we need, so we need that level of communication and inspiration prompts for how you can be in action. I'll pop some of those links on the clip after we've finished the interview. Thank you so much, Olga, for being with us. Thank you so much for connecting. I really have been heartened this year. One of the You might remember we had bushfires here in Australia, the worst we've had in 200 years, last Christmas. And I saw a photo of a man, a farmer, whose place had been devastated by the fires, and he was just sitting in a burnt chair with all the rubble of his home and property behind him. And there was just utter despair in his countenance. And I just could have cried, like it's bringing tears to my eyes now. And I thought, I have to talk to you. I want to talk to you. And so I knew his name from the newspaper article, and I went searching. I found his name in a dairy listing and a phone number, and I rang him and talked and said, you know, I would like to phone you every day and just be a point of certainty in a time when you don't have much certainty. So that was the 15th of January, and I've been ringing him every day all year. And it's sometimes only a 5-minute call, sometimes 10, 15 minutes. It's not coaching and it's not counselling, it's connection. I wanted him to know, I don't know how I can support you, and it's not exactly about that, other than you will know I have your back. And when I thought about various periods in my life where I felt someone didn't, you know, I didn't have someone having my back, and when I was thinking about committing to do that for him, I thought, yeah, you know, so something all of us can do. It's just one person, you know, to be present to one just makes a whole world of difference. I've listened to him, he's talked, I've listened, and healing has happened. And it can be that simple. So, you know, I think we've got this larger outreach that you're creating, but it's actually founded in all these single events, these single connections, these two coming together, 2 or 3 coming together, that are forging this growth. And, you know, all we listeners and participants, we've got your back.
Yes, and that's how, you know, that's how it should be. We should be of help to others. And that's a great example that you just said with the farmer. That's wonderful. And it didn't take, you know, it didn't take money. It didn't take anything. All it took was that one phone call, just your attention towards this man, and you probably made a world of difference to him. And that's such a good example of humanity, of humanness,
yes,
of kindness that we should be showing today. That should be on the news, you know, that's the news we should be seeing, is this kind of good, compassionate examples.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, Olga, we've come to a close. Thank you. To be continued, because our relationship's not done. And I look forward to engaging with you again soon.
Take a break.
Thanks for taking a break with Pat Armistead.
Take a break.
Join us next time for more.
Take a break.
And be sure to like, share and subscribe for updates. And don't forget to click the bell for notifications. Bye for now.